Hi, and welcome to part 2 of editing the Genius Gallery widget. So now that we've created an extra gallery of images here for us to work with, let's begin actually putting images within each of these boxes. So the first thing we need to do is click inside the widget and select this first green box. And if you don't have the ability to select an image where it says composition no states, you haven't clicked all the way into it. So let's click one more time, and there. You'll see that the fill that shows is green and the trigger state is active. Now, most users tend to just apply a fill to this area right here, and that's what you need to do, but the thing you need to be careful of is to make sure you're applying that fill to the normal state. Muse kind of defaults to the active state, but there really is no active state in this widget because the second you've clicked on anything, the lightbox is on top. So make sure you select the normal state. Now you can change the fill, and we'll select an image. In this case, I'm using the image of the barbecue. So let's preview this in the browser and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so it's not initially apparent because we put it on the second page of the gallery. So here it is, and if we mouse over it, it says project title. Okay, it's looking good so far. The next thing we need to do is edit that text, and the way that that works is it's actually an image behind this image. It's nothing to do with the state. So if we click right down to this image and then we drag it out of the way, you can see that box behind, the project title box behind. And if we click and edit that title, let's just call this project number 1 BBQ. There. And let's move this image back up into place, and you'll see that the guides kind of help you snap it into place. Now, you're probably wondering why it works like this, and the reason is because this initial target on top shows the image of the barbecue, but when you go to the rollover state for it, you can see that the image behind shows, and what this is it's actually changing the opacity to 0. That's how we're showing you the text behind it. When you roll over it, the image in front opacity changes to 0, and we see the text behind. So let's preview that again just to see how it looks. And again, we're working on the second page of that gallery, so let's mouse over it, and now it says Project 1 Barbecue. So perfect, this is working well. Now what we're going to do is edit the image that appears when you actually click on the lightbox. So we'll jump back to Muse. Now with this first trigger selected, look for the blue flyout arrow here on the side, and if we click that, we have some options, and the option we're going to select is called Show Lightbox Parts While Editing. And if we click that, you can see that our box that's going to appear, or the light box is going to appear, and this just controls whether we see it or not in the kind of editing view in Muse. Okay, so now that we've got the light box showing, of course it's layered behind all these other elements, and it's really annoying to edit like that. So what we're going to do is just move this out of the way. It doesn't matter where you've positioned the light box elements on your canvas while you're designing it, because it's always just going to show up wherever the user is on the browser. So to do this, the best way again is to use the layers panel. So first, let's just kind of click and see if we can click on the lightbox area. This looks like it. It's kind of this dark blue image behind. It seems to be selected. So let's just go into our layers panel and we'll open up this target. You can see that there's a little blue dot, so it's somewhere in here. Now let's open up this composition where it is again. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're just selecting the container. If you click on that element here and drag it out of the way, it's probably going to bring the barbecue element with it, and that is actually the trigger, but we want to leave that in place. So as long as we have our container selected, we can click on this, drag it down, and let's just move it to the bottom of the page to give ourselves some room to work. There. Now it's out of the way, and it won't matter if you're working on it down here, it's still going to pop up in the right spot. So from here, editing the images is pretty simple. It's how you've done them with most any other widget. You just select on the box, change the fill, we'll select the barbecue, and of course you can change some of the project text. Perfect. There. So now if we go File and preview the page in the browser, let's see how this looks. There. So again, second page of the gallery, this is the barbecue, and if we mouse over it, we get our text. If we click on it, it brings up the picture of the barbecue and the new text. So this is how you edit this widget, and it's a little bit complicated in comparison to some of the other widgets, but you have to combine these different types of widgets to create items with, or create widgets with, this type of functionality. So the one thing to remember when you're working with this widget that I can't stress enough is to use your layers panel as strategically as possible so that you're not having to hold shift and select a million different little things within the widget. And to also make sure that when you're applying image fills to these triggers, to make sure that you're not simply applying them to the active state, that you're applying them to the normal state of the widget. So that's it. If you have any questions on how to edit this widget any further, please feel free to send us a request to our support forum at support.MuseThemes.com. Thanks again.